Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. And did it my way. Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. So I got a video for you first before I forgot to bring it up, and it got to give this dude major props, man. And just recognize a very good mind. Very good mind. AcesWildMMA. Haven't shown him recently. I use his channel. I really do. He picks out hard to find news that took some time to find, and I've used it many, many times. So check him out. He deserves your support big time. Solid individual, for real. Okay. That was a really bad intro. So I'm going to keep going, though, because I'm just in one of those moods, dude. All right. You know, you all kind of know sort of where I feel about Paddock and why he did this, and I still remain that way, that he was basically getting back at the casinos. And that, you know, he lost, I think it's fairly well established now that he lost about $1.5 million in the last 2 years of his life. It says right here, Paddocks high-stake gambling habit cost him some $1.5 million over 2 years before his rampage. This actually article lays it out pretty good, you know, and I don't even know who this is. It's cityjournal.org. Very well. I mean, it's just it's pretty common sense stuff that I think it's correct, you know, at least in part. Underlying, in fact, they say Las Vegas police can't figure it out. Their 10-month review of the life and habits of Gunman Stephen Paddock, who killed 58 people when he sprayed bullets on an outdoor concert last summer, does not suggest the motive, they say. Could it be that the motive lies in the industry that is the city's reason for being? Paddock's high-stake gambling habit cost him some $1.5 million over the 2 years before his rampage, according to the police report. We can't realistically expect police in Las Vegas, of all places, to blame gambling for Paddock's depravity, but it's hard to avoid seeing it as at least an underlying cause. But reaching such a conclusion would not only require Las Vegas law enforcement to bite the hand that feeds it, it would also run counter to our national indifference to, indeed, enthusiasm for gambling, which has long been seen as a serious vice. And it never occurred to me that, you know, government owns a considerable portion of gambling or just it benefits from the tax revenue. The reason gambling exists is because it's sanctioned by the government. So it's a very good point. All right. But that's just an underlying thing. What made him go completely mad? And I don't know if you've seen my other video about the Molly Tibbetts, murder, and what might have been a factor there, and several other weird, murders where somebody who didn't have a whole lot of criminal history just seems to go completely off the end and commit really heinous crimes that are just, even if the person had some history, some mental illness or whatever, it wasn't to the degree. The Austin bomber was one that I talked about. And him and his father had been renovating, gutting the home he was living in for the last year and redoing it. Basically, my theory was that you have all these homes that were built around the turn of the century, 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, and they're all built with materials that we don't even know what it is, whether it's lead, asbestos, and so on, but you all have them coming of age at a certain time, at the same time that we went through a real estate boom and bust, and there could be many other little factors that just come together that create this like chain reaction. I am predisposed to that type of thinking. I remember the movie, I think it's called Class Action Suit, where the vehicle, it had to be making like a left turn and get hit with the turn signal going, and had to have like three things happen together at once, and when it got hit at the tail light, right when it was making a left turn, whatever, it would cause the car to explode. And it actually turned out that the company realized this. They learned about it after the fact, and rather than recall the cars, it was cheaper for the company to just, and it was based loosely on a true story, it was cheaper for the company just to pay the lawsuits, because the number of lawsuits they would have was dramatically less in cost than it would be to recall every car and fix it. So, but what I'm saying is I do think that there's certain things that even if, and sometimes they're even foreseen, where, you just have several things come together that, just cause this chain reaction. And what I'm talking about is several homes, many, thousands and thousands of homes coming of age, being demoed by people who aren't even experienced, like, contractors and so forth, but are sort of just entered the business, amateurish, and like myself, and and it all happening at the same time that there's a real estate boom and bust. Maybe even throw in people on antidepressants or on anti-anxiety medicine, and I'm telling you, man, it's just like some kind of whatever. And like I said, it's possible that government knows about this, that the drugs companies know about it. If there's just this certain percentage of people that may have lead poisoning, and if you give them anti-anxiety medicine, they become psychotic, So, such a bad video. I'm going to keep going though, dude, because I don't know. So I showed this article. It's from June 10th, 2013. Lead exposure may trigger schizophrenia. And I think this might even be, this is sort of like the hipper version of it. Now, Columbia research points to the relationship between lead exposure and schizophrenia and raises questions about other environmental toxins. And I don't want to go into it in great detail because it's just a theory, But this is like the medical journal or abstract, whatever it is. I was a biology major in college, the study. Or one study. Mice engineered with a human gene for schizophrenia and exposed to lead during early life exhibited behaviors and structural changes in their brains consistent with schizophrenia. Scientists at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health and the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine say their findings suggest a synergistic effect between lead exposure and a genetic risk factor and open an avenue to better understanding the complex gene-environment interactions that put people at risk for schizophrenia and other mental disorders. And I think they even tested Paddock's brain for things, and there was moderately, elevated levels of lead. But the tests that we have, believe me, things are not perfected by any means, and there could be places in the brain, in parts of the cell where lead is just, you can't measure it, and that the body cannot process out of you. I really do have this thought that, certain exposure, certain poisons, that you almost like, you build up a level of it, and your body you can clean it from your system to some extent, but some just remains permanently in there, so you still remain overly sensitive to these poisons, so that, even though maybe the first time you're exposed to it, it almost is just nothing happens, but once it's in you and you have that kind of like elevated levels in the places that may make you go crazy, just a little, to re-expose you to it, it takes less to set you off. Okay, so hopefully you stayed with me on all this. So, and he was on Valium, by the way. And I really do believe that some of these anti-anxiety drugs, on top of what I'm suggesting as a theory, can really make you absolutely bonkers, psychotic, schizophrenic, severe. But there's this article I saw over at the Las Vegas Review Journal. Actually, I initially saw it at the Daily Mail. It wasn't even one of the main stories. It's one of those little boxes, But I immediately honed in on it, and I honed on one little thing. And it talks about, over the Daily Mail, they title it different. Daily Mail likes to do things with their titles. But, you know, he had 13 or 14 different accounts, and his money spread over that. That was just his nature, the way he was. That was just using the FDIC, spreading his money out so as much of it was insured as possible. That really was, I don't think, anything nefarious going on there. But most of his money most of the cash was lost, gambling and spending it on various things, credit card bills, but it was probably, you know, those credit card bills was from gambling. There was one thing in here, though, that absolutely grabbed my attention. And there's other examples, by the way, before I get into that, of my, you know, of my theory of people. The Austin bomber definitely stood out to me. There was other minor ones too, but I don't have time. Let me just keep going. It's just a theory. But I will say, even before I read this, I was thinking, I wonder if he has a few real estate projects on the side that he's just kind of toying around with. Almost like, you know, that's just a little pet project, something to keep him busy in his older years, you know, in real estate, which is what he knows, you know, in the area, you know. I really thought that before I even saw this article. So when I saw it goes over his assets, and it's basically the estate that's going to get distributed to the victims. It's not much. All the money's in the casinos, you know. I mean, that's where what we're talking about, and I don't really want to go through. Paddock police also have said Paddock spent the last 2 years of his life spending most of this $2 million he once had on hand. Most of it went to casinos, credit card companies, firearm purchases, and his girlfriend Marilee Danley. Danley received 3 separate transfers from Paddock, you know, totaling $150. 2 Mandalay Bay gaming vouchers were also factored into the gunman's assets. One worth $29,000, one worth $26, whatever. Investigators found nearly $3,000 worth of weapons, accessory, and Paddocks. It goes over his real estate, and there it is, right there. But before I even say that, just so you know, this is his 2 homes in Reno and Mesquite, Nevada. There's a Mesquite, Texas, too, but I think it's Mesquite, Nevada, and Reno. Those are his 2 homes, and those valued, and they're still on the market. They haven't sold, by the way. Total $758,000. Okay, so I think he still has $1.3 million, but most of it's in there. But there's also a property investment worth $90,203 was also included in the estimate. This, I do not know what this is, and I have a feeling that this is a small distressed property that he bought nearby in the area that he was working on, especially since his gambling career was basically, you know, petering out, and it wasn't working out, and he was realizing that that's, you know, he couldn't do it anymore. It doesn't, even if you outsmart the casinos for at some point, they're just going to change the machines and eventually, you know, to actually defeat the small percentage of people that have figured out a way to beat it. I mean, it's not like they're going to just let you continue to beat them. That's not how, I mean, why would they do that? Of course, once they figure out that some people have figured out a way to beat them, they're going to change the machine so that they can't do that. And that's what they did probably, and he was losing. But he might have, you know, bought himself a little investment property that he was working on, you know, because things weren't working out in gambling, or just because he wanted to do it, or he saw something that was a decent investment, and he was, you know, he was going to turn it over for a profit. I don't know that. I have no idea what this $90,000 property investment is, but it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if it was a property that he had to gut, and he was in the process of gutting it, doing all sorts of things in there. I mean, it just is the stuff that's in these homes, whether it's asbestos, whether it's concrete that's 100 years old, that we have no idea what's in that concrete when you're sawing through it and it's creating dust. And believe me, you wear protective gear even professionals do. And you don't get it all out, man. And, you know, you take it in. And when you're, I mean, I could describe scenario after scenario. When, in that case, if you're just working on one home, but a lot of times when the jobs are going on, you just got to get through a certain aspect of the job. And you know, you're going to be breathing some nasty-ass stuff. I mean, this is what happened to people from 9/11, man. You know, that were breathing that toxic dust. They're all dying of cancer and you know, probably worse. So that's my theory. And that's what I saw. And that's the end of this video. What a messy, bad video. I'm sorry. But I think that's going to be it. All right, thanks for watching my videos. One more time, AcesWildMMA. Check him out. He totally deserves your support, and he's got a great channel. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below, baby. And I will see you in the next video. Later, man.